Hello and welcome to the Shaw Local Bears Insider Podcast. We are joining you guys on this Friday morning, the 2nd of January. Happy New Year to everybody as we are getting ready for the final Bears game of the regular season. It's not the last Bears game we'll be talking about this year. So we've got a big matchup here on Sunday afternoon. I'm Chicago Bears beat reporter Michael Dwojak here with the Northwest Herald's Joe Aguilar as we've got a good Friday morning show for you folks as we preview the final game of the regular season for the Bears. Joe, heading into this matchup or heading into the season, I guess we both kind of thought, all right, this could be a game where, both teams are clawing for the playoffs. Detroit maybe is, clawing for a division title. The Bears are, trying to get into the playoffs. Maybe they've got like a game to go or something like that. But different circumstances than we expected. The Bears are the NFC North champions. They're in the playoffs for sure. They're fighting for a number 2 and number 3 seed. Meanwhile, the Detroit Lions are going to stay home. They're currently at 8-8 after commanding a week 2 win. I feel like things kind of derailed for that team ever since they kind of lost both of their coordinators.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, for them, I mean, it's like Jordan Love and the Packers. You want to beat the Packers with Jordan Love, not with their backup quarterback, whether it be Malik Willis or anybody else. So with the Lions too, I mean, look, they're not going to get any sympathy from the Bears as far as their banged up secondary without Kirby Joseph,
Sure,
without Brian Branch, and Terry and Arnold, their number 1 pick last year, is done for the season, 2 with the shoulder injury. So, but that's tough. I mean, and certainly Branch and Joseph, the first time the Bears played them, we've talked about it enough all season, that week 2 disaster in Detroit. Those guys made big plays, both of them. They're both Pro Bowl players. So that's a big loss for them. I mean, their secondary is depleted. But again, what the Bears have gone through this season with their secondary, they're not going to get any sympathy from the Bears. And the Lions, I'm sure, understand that. But, yeah, certainly different. We thought for sure a month ago that this game would be really impactful for both teams. Now it looks like it's just going to be impactful for one team, the Bears. So the Bears got to win. There shouldn't be any letdown, and there shouldn't be any trap game kind of feeling to this either, despite the Lions having basically nothing to play for. They're the team that's looking at probably draft position, whether, what a loss how that would help them. But, there's still a loaded offense. We'll talk about that later. And defensively, they still got playmakers, in Campbell and Hutchinson and some other guys. So it won't be an easy game, but I hope the Bears are ready and go into this game with a playoff mentality, almost like the playoffs start now. I mean, it's a new year, and what the heck? And there's still a lot to play for here, I think, for the Bears.
Yeah, I agree with you with the front of. I don't think that there's any inklings of a trap game this week for the Bears. I think, when Ben was asked about, how are you approaching this week? Do you remember that week 2 game? You could tell that he remembered that game, and I think a lot of the players have remembered that game. I think, talking to other guys, a lot of the players have been like, well, yeah, like, listen, we're different. We've changed. Like, we're not going to only focus on that loss, right? Like, that's not their sole focus. But I think if you hit them with some truth serum, they would probably tell you in the back of their minds, like, they want to get Detroit back for what they did to them. They punked them in week 2. I mean, it was just, there's no other way of putting it. The offense put it on the Bears defense, and the Bears offense couldn't keep up. I think we all remember, Ford Field chanting, F Ben Johnson, and the players celebrating after the game. Like, you don't forget that kind of stuff. You don't forget it. I think you play, you do sports politics, and you're like, they're a good team. Like, we value them and all that kind of stuff. I think in the back of their minds, they're probably like, we got to get them back for what they did earlier this season. And to be quite honest, like, a lot of 2022 has kind of come up where, when Detroit was kind of ascending, but they were out of the playoff race, but then they played spoiler for the Packers in week 18. And that kind of got them going into their 2-year run here and making the playoffs. Like, this Detroit team is tough, even without Ben Johnson, even without Aaron Glenn. That's a Dan Campbell team that is tough. They're gritty. They're going to keep competing until the very end. And I agree with you where I just don't think that this is definitely not going to be a cakewalk by any means, at least effort-wise, from the Detroit Lions. And I think the Bears know that.
Yeah, and the Bears, I mean, again, you look at this team on paper. Well, certainly we've seen enough of them, not only this year but last year. The Lions. I mean, that's a real good offense, and this Bears defense. We've been saying it all year. How many holes it has, and they're not going to win this game 10-7 on Sunday.
All right. If you're joining us on the live stream, thanks so much for joining us. Make sure you get your questions in there. Rick is joining us this morning. Does Joe have a photo over his shoulder of two bears fighting? Is that what you got going on there, Joe?
It's actually, yes. Good eyes, Rick.
Wow. Look at you, Rick.
That's my in-laws condo up in Wisconsin. Actually, I made sure I didn't bring my Cairo Santos number 8 jersey because I'm in Packer territory. But yes, it does have a Bears motif. I might have to do every podcast next year if we're still doing this. If I'm still doing this from up here, it does make for a good background. You
got to steal the photo at least. If anything, you just got to steal the photo and just put it in your office. And a little artistic here stuff going on the Bears live stream. Also, if you're joining us on Facebook, make sure you give us a like. I see we've got some likes going on. Make sure you got your questions and comments. We can see those in the chat as well, so we can answer any of them or kind of share any thoughts or comments, you guys who are joining us on Facebook as well. And if you're listening to us on the podcast, thank you so much. Make sure you like and subscribe us. And if you want to listen to the live stream, we usually talk on Friday and Monday morning. Sometimes that changes, but we usually talk here on YouTube. So make sure you're join us and be a part of the chat. All right, let's get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty of Sunday afternoon's game. Let's start with the injury report, which has been fairly good. The Bears did not practice on Wednesday. They held a walkthrough, so they had an estimated report on then. Obviously, the big thing we're still keeping an eye on is Rome Odunze. He didn't practice on Thursday. He was scheduled to not practice on Wednesday. At this point, I would assume that he's not going to be playing on Sunday afternoon. I don't know how you feel, Joe, whether, we'll ask Ben this a little bit later this afternoon. Obviously, if folks listen to the press conference, they know that Ben isn't forthright really in his injury updates or anything like that. But at this point, it's a meaningful game to me. But I do think that if Rome isn't at 100% right now, I don't think you put him back out there. I think you save him for the playoffs. You save him for that wild card game because, as you saw in that Browns game, why re-aggravate that foot injury? Just make sure he's 100% and he's ready to go for the playoffs. And I think the Bears will be fine. Obviously you always want Rome Odunze in your lineup, but I think they have enough there where they can be fine without him this week.
Yeah, they're better with Rome on the football field, but when you have a playoff game coming up, and I think the depth here, this whole next man up thing is really been a positive for the Bears this year. And what Jade Walker has shown the last 2 games now, I think you feel confident. Again, you'd rather have Rome playing, but at this point, there's no sense bringing him back for this game Sunday. Get him ready, give him that extra weekend, get him ready for the playoffs.
Encouraging wide receiver injury news. Luther Burden was scheduled to be limited with a quad injury. It turns out it was a quad injury, but then he was a full participant on Thursday, so that's good news. Mohamed Zacchaeus has been full participant after being sick on Sunday. Josh Blackwell improved to full. Ozzy Trapillo was added to the injury list on Wednesday in limited fashion. He was limited on Thursday. We'll see how he looks on Friday. I would imagine they're just probably monitoring this and just trying to kind of, limit the damage at this point. The other concerning thing is that Jonah Jackson was added to the injury list on Thursday. That's with an illness. We'll see how he's feeling on Friday. Obviously, we'll see how things kind of turn around here over the next couple of days. But barring, I think maybe it's, obviously it stings for Jonah that he caught whatever's been going on in this Bears locker room. But I think it's probably good that he got this illness on Thursday, where I feel like he'll have a couple days here to maybe recover and feel better by Sunday.
Yeah, and if he can't go, I'm guessing would it be Luke Newman then? Who
I would think so. Yeah, I think Luke's been that backup swing guard, if you want to call him that.
Yeah, and the limited amount we've seen him this year, you know better than me, Michael. He's looked good. He looked like he can step in and more than hold his own. So, but hopefully, at least it's not an injury with Jonah Jackson. hopefully you give him some ibuprofen or whatever they give the guys there at Halas Hall, and he's good to go come Sunday.
All right, looking at the Detroit Lions injury report, it's a long one. It'll be interesting to see how Dan Campbell kind of approaches this. Obviously, the top name is Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's been dealing with a knee and ankle injury for a while now. He didn't practice on Wednesday, but he was limited on Thursday. Joe, I obviously don't have to tell you that, Amon-Ra St. Brown's one of the best wide receivers in the league. The Bears secondary has struggled at times. I think it would behoove the Bears if Amon-Ra St. Brown maybe didn't play on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, and have you seen his numbers, what he's done this year?
Yeah, they're
106 receptions, 1,200 receiving yards. They got two receivers over 1,000 yards, him and Jamison Williams. But Amon-Ra, I mean, yeah, he's legit first team Pro Bowler.
Definitely an All-Pro.
Pardon?
Definitely an All-Pro too, like when they announced it later.
Yeah, no, he's legit. But again, to me, you want to win a win. You want to get a win any way you can. But I want to see them play him. I don't want any talk. I don't think they want to have this like win with an asterisk. There are no wins with asterisk, but you know what I mean. Where they say, you beat them, but they didn't have Amon-Ra. They didn't have their Pro Bowl secondary, their safeties, and this guy and that guy. You want to beat them at full strength, but he's a scary player, and the Bears haven't shut him down. Now, we really haven't. The last time they played, wasn't that the game where did Jalen come back and then he got hurt right away? Right?
Yeah, he got hurt. He pulled he messed up his groin, making a diving play against the Lions.
Yeah, and then he was out forever, and now he's been back. So, and we've talked about Jalen Johnson maybe shaking some of that rust off because he didn't look like the same player when he first came back about 4 games ago now. But hopefully I don't know where he's at with his health 100%. Or maybe I don't know if you guys have had a chance to talk to him. I don't know if he would reveal much anyway, as far as that's concerned, but hopefully you would think week by week, he's been getting better, just stronger, game shape, game mode. And, that would be something different anyway, that we didn't see that scenario play out in week 2.
Yeah, I think it's clear that he's still not 100%. Rich got asked, is Jalen Johnson, did he get benched in the 49ers game? No, he's just on a snap count. He's not 100% yet. I mean, quite honestly, I think if they didn't have a playoff push, I think maybe he wouldn't have returned as soon as he did. I think he just wanted to be out there and competing. I mean, he's just been on a snap count. He's still not at 100%. I mean, when the injury happened, I think a lot of us forget that we were debating whether he would even play again this season, right? And then he came back at the beginning of December, and you're like, whoa, this is kind of coming out of nowhere. So he didn't get benched. I think he's just on a snap count still. He's not 100%. I don't think he's going to be 100% and for the rest of this playoff push either. I think he's just going to need a whole offseason to kind of get back into shape. But I do think that, listen, have there been times where Jalen is you kind of see that rust a little bit over the last couple of games? Yeah, I think you've seen that, but I still think that secondary is still good with Jalen Johnson as opposed to without Jalen Johnson. Some other notable Lions injuries. Penei Sewell's been dealing with an ankle injury. He hasn't practiced, so that'll be interesting to see. Tristan Colin has been dealing with their wrist injury, their offensive lineman. Their other tackle, Taylor Decker, has been limited in practice with the shoulder and an illness. Something to monitor there. And other guys, Christian Mahogany, Giovanni Manu, both a guard and tackle. Their offensive line obviously has been dealing with a lot of injuries this year, and it's kind of been the reason why their offense has struggled. So it'll be interesting to see how many guys play, but obviously St. Brown and Penei Sewell are going to be the headliners there on Sunday afternoon. And obviously for the Bears, I'm sure they would like to play them, but also at the same time, they're kind of like, if you want to rest and you want to end your regular season, that'd be pretty cool too.
Michael, I'm curious. I'm guessing the answer on this is no, but has there been any talk with Trevon Diggs being released by the Cowboys this past week that the Bears might be interested? I mean, it's too late now, obviously. It's Friday. But going forward, has there been any talk, even amongst reporters or anyone at Halas Hall, about them potentially having any interest in Diggs?
Well, he signed with the Packers the other day, so
I
haven't heard any interest. I don't think there's any mutual whatever. But yeah, the Packers signed him, so that'll be interesting. Obviously, they've got all their secondary problems going on.
Yeah.
I saw people sharing, Rome Odunze when they played against the Cowboys earlier this year, kind of busting through Trayvon Diggs. But yeah, I think I think it'll be interesting to see how that kind of works, because at the time I was kind of like, all right, like that could be good, but also adding him this late into the year, I just felt like kind of like okay, like if it's not broken. I mean, it's not perfect by any means with the Bears secondary, but I thought it was just kind of like okay, like it would be fine, but I don't think the Bears necessarily need to make that move.
Yeah, it would have been tough late in the season, and there's a reason why he was released. So I
Right.
don't know. It doesn't seem like he's been the same player the last couple of years, but still an interesting guy. Anytime a corner who's accomplished as much as he has in this league becomes available, like Asante Samuel a month and a half ago, whatever it's been now, you kind of like, if the Bears have a chance, would they be interested? But it'll be the offseason will be here soon enough, and they're going to have a lot to figure out on that defense.
All right, let's get into our playoff scenarios here before we get into the matchups. Obviously, we want to know what the Bears are playing for as they enter the weekend. So the Bears are playing for either the number 2 or the number 3 seed. The Bears earn the number 2 seed with either a win against the Lions or a Philadelphia Eagles loss to the Commanders. The Bears will either be playing the Packers, the Rams, or the 49ers. The Packers are locked in at that number 7 spot. So if the Bears get the number 2, they're definitely going to be hosting the Packers in the first wild card game. If they drop down to the 3 seed, they'll either play the Rams or the 49ers. Probably the 40. I would guess the Rams, because the 49ers and the Eagles are going to be playing for that NFC West number 1 seed. So the 49ers could jump all the way to the number 1 seed with the win over the Eagles, but they could also drop to the number 6 seed if they do lose to the Seahawks and the Rams end up winning that matchup. I think that's how that works. So Joe, first of all, I wanted to ask you, I think I heard it's been reported by the Philadelphia Inquirer that Nick Sirianni, he's going to rest most of his starters. That's the Eagles coach this weekend when they're playing the Commanders. What are your thoughts about that approach? I think you obviously want to get the higher seed at this point. I understand that he's been there, he's done that. These guys, won the Super Bowl last year, so they've played the most games amongst all the other teams at this point. So maybe they are a little bit more tired than other teams have been. But what were your thoughts about just, if he does end up resting most of his starters, including Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley and AJ Brown? What are your thoughts about that approach? I mean, there's still a possibility that the backups could still beat the Commanders. Obviously, the Commanders have had a tough season this year, but I was kind of surprised when I heard Sirianni say that he will likely do that.
Yeah, me too. But look, I mean, they're the defending Super Bowl champs. You almost have house money here, right? I mean, if they not that they're looking to lose or they don't care if they win or lose, but I wouldn't think there's as much pressure on them, even though it's Philly, for crying out loud, with their fan base and media about having a successful postseason run again here. But to me, I've always been the belief, like, if you can play, you play. And I think players want to play, unless you've got a serious injury, like the situation with Rome Odunze here in Chicago, where you want to rest up and be ready for the playoff game. But for them, I don't know. I mean, they've been through this, so they know what it's going to take in the postseason. You don't have to worry about getting guys in that mentality, that playoff mode already. But I would think you'd want to play. And the idea of just missing a week, I remember talking years ago to Anthony Costanzo, local kid, Lake Zurich, played 10 years as the Colts starting left offensive tackle. And we were talking once. I saw him. He was at Lake Zurich before the season started, and I forgot even who the Bears coach was at the time, but about how they were resting all the starters during preseason. And he said it's funny because I want as many reps as I can all the time, game reps. So, and I would think most guys want to play. They want reps unless they're really banged up. But so it's tough, and it depends on how bad the injury is. I don't think. I mean, everyone's wounded at this point, right? Through 16 weeks, 17 weeks. So, but I'm more of like, if you can play. And this situation plays out two for teams that are in, trying to improve, not directly improve their draft position. We've had this conversation more on the opposite end of that in Chicago about, should they play this guy? What the heck? They're better off losing. There's that situation too with teams. Not that players don't care about draft position, but tanking, so to speak, the last game or so. But this is the opposite end of that. But I'm kind of giving you an answer that's all over the map here. I apologize, but I would think if you can play, you play. You keep the mindset of let's go play football and let's try to win a game.
Yeah, and I get there are different scenarios. Like the Packers, they're locked into the number 7 seed. I understand that they're going to rest their guys. Like, why risk injury in a meaningless game this weekend? Like that part makes sense to me. But like, if you have a chance to guarantee your spot at the number 2, I think you have to take advantage of that. And that kind of goes back to my question here, Joe, or my next question. If you're the Bears, who do you want to play? Is it the Packers at the number? Are you kind of just like, give me the number 2 seed because that guarantees yourself an extra home game? I mean, if the Bears get the number 2 seed, they could potentially host 3 playoff games at home if the number 1 seed ends up losing, right? So for me personally, I feel like you play to win the number 2 seed. You make your path to the Super Bowl as easy as possible, and that's the number 2 seed. You have to play the Packers a third time. Okay, that's fine. I think the Packers are also like your most. I think the Packers are your best bet at this point in the first round too, because they're just wounded. I mean, their defense is depleted at this point. They're without Micah Parsons. They're without all their different guys on the defensive line in their secondary. You don't know what's going on in quarterback. Hopefully, I mean, I hope Jordan Love gets better at this point, right? Like, you don't want him to deal with the long-term concussion issue, and for that to be the reason why. But I think of all the matchups at this point, yeah, you got familiarity, but I think the Packers are just your best playoff matchup. So what do you think? You probably want them to play that number 2 seed, even if they do have to play the Packers a third time.
Yeah, Monday when we did the post-game reaction after the Niners game, I was like, I don't want to play the Packers. That scares me. But that's probably the best route.
Yeah.
This is still the stigma that it's the Packers, right? You've got to. I keep using this analogy, but you got to douse the witch with the bucket of water and make sure she's dead. We'll worry about next season, but this is the team it's going to be painful. These games are like, as a fan, they're tough to watch. Bears Packers, they come down to the end. There's so much at stake mentally. I think certainly from a fan standpoint, probably from a player standpoint, they know who they're playing. But if you look at it on paper, like I don't want to see San Francisco come to Soldier Field or Philadelphia. Pardon me. That's a really annoying. Let me decline that. Joe, rookie mistake. Silence your phone when you're doing a podcast. Sorry about that. That would have been going on for another 20 seconds or something. Anyway, the Packers, because of your familiarity with that team, and it'll be crazy at Soldier Field again. It would make for great theater. It really would. I think that's the team you need to play. You want to play, and you've got to get through this. You've got to get through this whole beat the Packers thing. They don't own you anymore. Aaron Rodgers will relinquish his ownership of the Bears if they can beat them in the playoffs. So you have to, I think, sometimes the path, even though it's not directly the path to the Super Bowl, am I actually saying this? You got to get through Green Bay first and then worry about the other teams. And at least you'd have them at Soldier Field as opposed to Lambeau. And I think that's the Bears, of course, would want.
Yeah, I think it's definitely what you would want. And listen, I know I've heard our columnist Mark Silverman, of Waddle and Sylvie, make the comparison of 2015 where the Cubs beat the Cardinals and they got over the hump, and after all those years, like, eventually you just have to beat the Packers. Like, you can't be scared of them your entire life, right? Like, you have to just eventually get over that hump. Maybe this is that. for to get over the hump and all that sort of stuff. You finally beat the Packers in the playoffs. Whatever you need to do, quite honestly, just the Packers are your best path. I don't want to see the Rams in the first round, even though they kind of fumbled against the Falcons. I still think that's a great team. There's zero chance I want to see the 49ers in the first round, even if that game is at Soldier Field. Like, I want to see, if I'm the Bears, I don't want to see the 49ers until the NFC Championship game if I can do it. And then you kind of have a shootout there. Maybe you probably have to go back to Santa Clara, and maybe you can win a shootout there again. But I just think the Packers are your easiest path. You get the number 2 seed. You host potentially the Eagles in the second round. And again, getting ahead of ourselves, but that would be a tough game at home too. But you would rather have that game at home instead of having to go back to Philly and Philly trying to get revenge for what happened on Black Friday, right? Like, I think you just got to get that number 2 seed, secure as many home games as possible, and make your path as easy to do Super Bowl, because at this point you're entering the field as it's one of those things, and we'll talk about it more next week, and about how realistic are the Bears as Super Bowl champions. I wouldn't put them as favorites by any means, but once you're in, you're in. And I think that this team has an offense that can compete with the best of them. The defense will only let them go as far as I think as it'll happen. But I think that any team that makes it into the race has at least a shot this year. And there's no heavy favorite. There's no like Kansas City. There's no, even Buffalo is down a little bit this year. I know the Rams have looked good, but then, they've been okay. There's just no clear favorite to me this year. So I think if you get in, you just make your path as easy as possible. And that's by getting the number 2 seed.
Yeah, and getting as many home games as possible, like you said, because all these games should be good. You'd hope they would be. And you're looking for any advantage you can get. And certainly injuries you can't control, but you can control having that game at home makes a difference.
It really does. Like, you would think that, like, oh, how different is it? These guys are, flying in, charter flights. They're obviously staying in these super nice hotels. There's still something about, I know these guys stay in downtown Chicago the night before a game together and that kind of stuff, but there's still the comfort of, you're home, you're in your own locker room. That like Soldier Field in January, that can be tough for, West Coast warm opponents. Like, they don't know how to deal with the wind like Cairo does, right? Or any of that stuff. Like, Caleb knows how to throw when he's dealing with 30-mile-per-hour winds in Soldier Field, and maybe other quarterbacks might not, right? So it'll be really interesting to see. We'll obviously talk about it all after what happens this weekend. That 49ers Seahawks championship game for the NFC West takes place on Saturday night. So the Bears will know a little bit about that, but the Eagles Commanders game takes place at the same time as the Bears Lions game, just so neither team has like an advantage. But we got to get to this preview here, but I do want to know, Joe, if you're scoreboard watching at halftime and you see that the Eagles are losing, let's say, by like 15 or 20 points. If you're Ben Johnson, I'm going to make you the head coach here, Joe. Are you taking your starters out for the second half? What are you doing? Because if you see that the Eagles are down by 15 or 20 points, are you not taking a risk, or are you finishing the game and you're making sure that you win?
That's a good question, Michael. To me, you still worry about what you can control on the field. And the Bears, I think they, I know we're 16 games through already, but I just look at more reps for your offense and game momentum. I think you want to feel good going into the playoffs. I mean, look, you're coming off a loss. I know it was an exciting game. You played great. Came down to the last play of the game, but you lost. And I think you want to win, and I think you want to feel good going into the playoffs at home. And I think that's, maybe. And I'm sure they won't get, we talked about it briefly Monday with Caleb, needing 270 to hit 4,000 yards passing for the season. I'm sure they're like, that's not even a priority if there's 100 priorities in this game. But fans are aware of it. The players, they're aware of it. And I just think, play the game. You can get, as people have said before, you can get hurt stepping off the bus. or stepping onto the bus. Go get a win. Worry about what you can do. Play good football and go into the postseason feeling good about yourself and what you're capable of doing offensively and defensively.
Yeah, that brings up a good point. Rick asked, does Ben factor in Caleb breaking Bears QB records? Obviously, he's going to go for Eric Kramer's record, which he's around, I think it's around 150 around from breaking that record. And he's 270, like you said, from being the first Bears for 4,000-yard passer. It's interesting. I don't know how to answer that question because in face value, Ben kind of laughed. He didn't laugh, but he was kind of like, he didn't get the reason why we were asking him about Caleb becoming the first 4,000-yard passer. He's like, he called it basically like, he just called it a number. He said it doesn't matter. Like there are probably teams who don't have 5,000-yard passers. Who cares? But when Caleb was asked about it, like Caleb obviously said like he wants to win first. That's all he cares about. But he did also say that he came here to be the best quarterback in the NFL. And part of that includes breaking a bunch of Bears records. So it's interesting because I think on face value, I don't think either Ben or Caleb that's even in their top 5 or 10, bullet points of what they're hoping for this game to turn out, right? I don't think they're prioritizing that by any means. But as we saw, Ben shows you that he hears and he cares about that kind of stuff, even if he publicly says it doesn't. Like when it came to Rome Odunze's dad being mad, Rome gets the first snap. When it came to everyone critiquing DJ Moore, where's DJ Moore? DJ Moore has his season best game. When it comes to Luther Burden's not involved enough, first pass goes to Luther Burden. That stuff to me doesn't happen on accident. I think Ben knows what's going on out there. He hears what people talk about. How much value does he put into what he hears? I don't think he's not dictating his whole life and his whole game plan based on what people are saying by any means. But I do think he hears that stuff. And I do wonder in the fourth quarter if Caleb is like, let's say like 30 or 40 yards away from breaking the record or becoming the first 4,000-yard passer. Okay, maybe he does get him involved a little bit more. I wouldn't be surprised about that. I don't think it's a priority for Ben, but I do think it's in the back of his mind, and he is going to help his quarterback as much as he can.
Yeah, I mean, it's the players, I'm sure the coaches will tell you it's just noise, but they hear it. It's like when the Cubs were trying to break the 100-plus year drought of not winning a World Series. The players like, we weren't here even 5 years ago. We don't care. We're just trying to win baseball games. But then the noise gets so amplified at Wrigley Field. Every pitch matters. Every ball hit matters. And the players feel it. They feel it from the fan base. That place will be buzzing regardless of score if Caleb is on the verge. If he's at 250 yards through 3 quarters, and again, we could be way ahead of ourselves here.
Sure.
Maybe it's going to be a 14-13 game and Caleb's going to have 118 yards after 3 quarters.
Yeah.
But the players, the buzz, there will be a buzz. Chicago sports fans, and I'm not just trying to be a homer here, they're smart. Yeah, the Blackhawks fans, the old Blackhawks fans, not the kids who go today and for the morning zoo.
Hey, don't hate the kids. Don't hate the kids, Joe.
They're smart. Chicago sports fans are smart. They know a situation. So the whole 4,000-yard thing may just be a lot of noise, and who cares? Let's win a football game. But if you don't get it, the talk will be all again next season about hitting that milestone and getting off that schneid for this franchise. So, but yeah, they got to be aware. But there are other priorities, a lot more than that.
Listen, even if he does break it, I've gotten so many mentions on social media about how he'll do it in 17 games instead of 16 games. Sure. So doesn't really count and all that kind of stuff. I mean, what is he supposed to do? This is what the schedule is now. Like, I don't know what you're supposed to do. I'm not, whatever. Like, there's going to be, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So it's kind of one of those situations for me.
Look, and we know too, I mean, we've said it all year, Michael. He hasn't been great this year. He's not a Pro Bowl snub. All right, he didn't deserve to make the Pro Bowl. He's not there yet. So we're all pretty confident the best is yet to come for him. At least we've seen and now we can say that because we've seen the strides being taken. But this hasn't been like a breakout. Well, technically, I guess it is for him. Only 2 seasons he's been better than last year. But this hasn't been like, like you've said many times, this is not a finished product. We all know that. So there's more to come from this young man if he stays healthy.
All right, let's finally get into this matchup here. Obviously, we wanted to set the scene here a little bit, and I feel like we kind of all know these matchups by the back of our head at this point. We know the Lions really well after all these years. We know the Bears after 16 weeks. But let's get into it. Bears and Lions at Soldier Field on Fox at 3:25 p.m. They've got the late afternoon window. Joe, what is a key matchup that you'll be watching for on Sunday afternoon?
Well, we always want to see what Caleb does, but I'll go with stopping this Lions run game, which the last 3 games it's not been good. Shockingly, it's all 3 losses during that stretch. The Rams, Steelers, and at Minnesota last week, but they have not rushed the ball well the last 3 games, and it's kind of shocking. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is having. You see the numbers of what he's doing this year. I mean, and that not only running the ball, he's over 1,000 yards, no surprise. But he's got 74 catches this season. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
But him running the ball, and David Montgomery is having another good year for them. It's not like Ben left and they can't run the ball anymore. And Goff too, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, as we talked about earlier. But can they keep this running game, because they've had trouble with whether it's a good running back or a mediocre running back this year, preventing the opponent from running the football. So Gibbs is still a great player. I don't know what's going on with them offensively the last 3 weeks, but that guy, there is no lack of respect or like, oh, maybe he's banged up a little and doesn't care anymore. This kid's a dude. This guy's a dude. I mean, he is so good, and he's a game wrecker. He's a game changer. So I want to see how the Bears can they hold him at bay a little bit. Him and Montgomery. That's what I'll be looking at, because to me that'll tell me a lot early. Is this going to be a long afternoon at Soldier Field or evening because it's a 3:20 game, or are the Bears going to take care of this wounded animal pretty early?
Yeah, listen, I know we like to talk about how the Lions, they're out of the playoff hunt and all that kind of stuff. They're an 8-18. They're still good. Like I think they've had offensive inconsistencies. Dan Campbell took over the play calling responsibilities. Now we'll see what that kind of looks like here after the season, after they got off to a hot start. Obviously, the offensive line issues have been paramount, and it kind of goes to show you how important an offensive line is and how important offensive line health is to any team, especially the Lions team. But this team has so many playmakers. Like you mentioned, Jahmyr Gibbs is having a quote unquote down season, but he's still got 1,000 rushing yards at least. He's still a playmaker. David Montgomery is still, again, quote unquote, having a bad season, but he's still putting up 690, I think it was, yards or something like that. And he's got a bunch of touchdowns. This is a great running attack. And I think I'm going to lump this in kind of together where for the defense, for me, the defense needs to show that it can get some stops here. I don't think it depends, no matter who plays, you need to head into the playoffs having any sort of defensive confidence, aside from being able to create turnovers. Turnovers, if you're able to do that and that's your identity, that's great. But the Bears need to get stops like they did against the Packers in the red zone a couple weeks ago. They really got to get that bad taste out of their mouth that they had in the 49ers. I don't think the Bears defense is that bad. I don't think they're as bad as, I just think Kyle Shanahan's a phenomenal play caller and knew exactly how to abuse that defense. And I think, Dennis Allen yesterday said he started off his availability with us saying he called a terrible game. Like he took responsibility and he said, I didn't do well. I didn't put my team in a good spot to succeed. So, I will be really interested to see overall, especially the run defense, what is this team able to do? And are they able to get, that bad taste out of their mouth? I don't think that they're not going to shut out this Lions offense by any means. This is still a very talented Lions offense that is going to be playing with pride, but are they able to take away the run? Are they able to stop Jared Goff from blowing up on Sunday afternoon? And if they are able to do that, I think that'll be really key to feeling better heading into the playoffs next week.
Yeah, it's what we've been saying a lot all season long. Get off the field. They have to do that. I mean, you look back last week, Michael, at the job Caleb did, and the numbers were certainly good, But imagine if they could have been on the field longer, what he could have done.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason why you see no one on offense having a career year. I mean, even Swift, he's been great. Technically, it'll be his best season in the NFL stat wise. But the receivers, here are the Lions. We talk about having 2,000-yard receivers. DJ Moore is the Bears' top yardage receiver, if I'm phrasing that correctly, fewer than 700 yards.
Yeah.
And the injuries to Adunze, that hurt. He'd be up there. But, the offense has to be on the field more. Part of that's the offense's problem. A big part of it is the defense not being able to get a 3 and out and stringing 2 or 3 together. Have we seen that all year? I don't know if we've seen 3 consecutive 3 and outs. I don't know. Doesn't seem like we've seen it. So that's it. And then that's why you end up having close games every week, although most games in the NFL are close every week. But that's why you've had to have 6, late fourth quarter comebacks because a lot of these games have been close because your defense hasn't held up its own for either lack of talent or injury.
I mean, you just – it's what I like. My whole storylines for this weekend were pretty much just like this is like a tune-up game, if you will. I know you're playing for playoff seedings, but you got to get that last bit of work or whatever you want to fix in right now, because in the playoffs you're game scheming for that specific opponent and all that kind of stuff. And obviously they're scheming for the Lions this week and they're only focused on the Lions. But I do think if you want to work out a way where you're kind of like, all right, this is our situation with the pass rush, maybe we got to figure out this, like this is the week to do it. So I'm really interested to see how that, what Dennis Allen does this week and how he's able to limit Goff. Because if the Bears win in the shootout on Sunday afternoon, obviously I think Bears fans will be happy that they won, but I think a lot will also be a little bit concerned with that defense if the Lions defense or offense puts up a bunch of points and yards on this defense. I'll keep my key matchup short here. It's just basically, can the offense continue to keep going here? This is a bad, I don't want to say bad. They're like mid-tier, but like this is an injured Lions defense. The secondary is completely battered. Their pass rush, they still have Aiden Hutchinson, but it's still not what it was a year ago. Caleb in the offense, I think it's supposed to be like 30 or something like that. That's fine. They played in worse situations this year. Throw the ball, run the ball, just move the ball up and down the field, control the time of possession. This isn't a crazy good Lions defense. Just take care of business. That's just my simple key matchup here. You just need the offense to keep clicking heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, and stay away from the negative yards. They do get the quarterback. I mean, Hutchinson is coming off a 2-sack game. He's got 13 and a half now in the season. He's great. He's just a great player. And then the other guy who's had a lot of sacks this year, the linebacker, El-Kadin Muhammad, he's got 11 sacks.
Yeah.
They have 47 as a team. The Bears have 32. We know how bad the Bears pass rush has been this season. But they do come and get you. Hutchinson can get a strip sack. He's one of those guys. He's just a nasty dude. Motor never stops. Much respect for that guy. So, but keep it going, right? We want to see the ascent. We've said all year, almost every week, it's all about the quarterback. Can he progress? Can we see a steady ascent? And we've been seeing that more and more lately. So continue that, because that's big. We don't want to see him have another bad 3 quarters and then have to, pull off fourth quarter heroics again. And this shouldn't be the case. This is a battered animal. This is a wounded animal here, as I keep saying. The Detroit, with all the injuries, they're not going to the playoffs. And so, and they're a dome team. Give them a taste of good old bear weather. This is how we play in Chicago, and run the dang ball. I think DeAndre Swift's going to have a big game. We haven't gotten to our MVP yet, but Swift, another revenge, quote unquote, game, if you want to call it that, for him. And keep doing what you've been doing. But the offense, we know what the defense is. We don't expect much, but the offense we do, and we need to, and we've been seeing it.
CJ with a good matchup, Bears D versus Lions rush offense. Will Lions take a page from San Fran? Yeah, that'll be interesting to watch. Obviously, we talked about it obviously early on with Joe's point, Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously a talented running back, and David Montgomery. Christian McCaffrey did whatever he wanted and against that Bears defense last week. So it'll be really interesting to see how they kind of regroup here. Joe, what is a surprise? What a surprise prediction from you for Sunday afternoon?
Well, I've been wrong every time I've said it, but I'm going to go one more time because we still have not seen the old lineman catch a dang TD pass. Are we due? I thought last week they had a couple of formations like, oh, it's coming. This might be it. We can't go 17 games without seeing this. I thought we'd see it early in the season. So what the heck? I'm not good at this game, as you know, Michael. But I'm going to go with Bears old lineman catching a TD pass. And don't ask me which old lineman because I have no idea. You could just throw one to Ozzie, throw it 20 feet in the air, and he'd probably go get up and just wouldn't even have to jump to catch it. But maybe we'll see that finally in week 17. Or week
I think actually, yeah, I'm gonna double down on yours because I was thinking about this. I have a two-parter,
okay.
Which maybe is cheating a little bit. I think my prediction is that Ben Johnson either runs stumble bum against the Lions. I think, which I don't know. Obviously they might know. They obviously know the play. The defense has run it and that kind of stuff. But maybe the Lions are just kind of like, there's no way he's going to run that play against us. Like, why would he run that play against us? We've practiced against it. And maybe Ben's just kind of like, all right, like I'll just run stumble bum against my old team and the team that ran it last week. I've got a weird feeling that could potentially happen. And if he does do that, we're starting on the Monday podcast with that. And we're only talking about that. But my second parter is, watch out for a special teams trick play. Last week, week 18, obviously, Richard Hightower called for that trick kickoff return against the Green Bay Packers last week. Richard was asked about it this week about, you've got trick plays. You haven't run any trick plays yet. Is there any chance you'll run it? And he kind of played coy. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be some sort of trick play on special teams, whether it's the kickoff, whether it's an onside kick or something like that, though that's a little bit harder to do since you have to declare it. But we were talking about it. The Detroit Lions like to do a lot of fake punts. And that's something that, the Bears are going to be well aware of on Sunday. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears run one of their own or they do some other special teams trick play.
That'd be a good one. Getting back to the stumble bone, so you're saying Jack Campbell's not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe thing?
Yeah, he's not. Maybe not. Well, we'll see how it goes. But could you imagine if they do stumble bum against the Lions? I don't know how well it would go since, the Lions have practiced against it and they have it on tape. They ran it last year, but maybe you just kind of go with the shock of like, there's no way he's going to run that against us. So,
right. It should be fun. I still think there's this whole dynamic, Ben versus Dan Campbell, like they want to get the best of the other guy. I think that still exists. And look, the Lions would just love to come to Soldier Field saying we're all banged up and bruised and battered, and we're still going to beat you. Maybe we're not going to beat you 52-21 again, but we're still going to beat you. And next year when we're healthy, we're going to beat you again. So, and maybe they'll pull a trick play and give Ben a little taste of his own medicine here, whether it's, no matter what the trick play is. So I'm sure they're very motivated to come to Chicago. And again, let's emphasize too, it's an NFC North game. And the Bears, although they are the NFC North champs, they got three really good teams, four good, well-coached teams here in the NFC North. So this story isn't over by any means, regardless of what happens Sunday or in the postseason. This is an exciting time. Did I just say that? To be a fan of the NFC North? Not only the rest of this season, what's left, and going forward next year and beyond. So it should make for a lot of good football, certainly football conversation the next 2-3 years or however long.
I think the biggest thing is like you're confident in every team in the NFC North having sustained success, right? Like the Packers are going to be really good with Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love and Micah Parsons. I think Detroit, despite its hiccups this year, is still going to be really good under Dan Campbell and Jared Goff. And I still think Kevin O'Connell is one of the best coaches. Obviously, we'll figure out the whole situation with JJ McCarthy. Maybe they continue with that and they just I don't want to talk too much about it because obviously I know he's a local kid. I don't want to pound on the kid or anything like that. But he has been injured this year, and it hasn't looked good when he's played. So, but I do think that every team in the NFC North is going to be good for at least the next 3 or 4 years at this point with the trajectory they have. Now watch them all be bad next year or something like that. But I am very confident in the trajectory of this division moving forward. Rick chiming in, his surprise prediction is that an offensive lineman will throw a touchdown pass. That could be a lot of fun too. I like it. I don't know if Ben Johnson was burned with his trick plays last year in the playoffs, so maybe he won't run them as much in the playoffs this season, but maybe he doesn't care and he'll just keep doing it. I don't know. We'll see how it kind of goes, but this might be one of our last opportunities to watch some fun trick plays this week. So if Ben's got anything left in the bag before he works over the offseason to reload, he might want to use them this weekend or in the next couple of weeks. All right, Joe, we've got our most valuable Bears. I think you hinted at who you think is going to win this week. Who do you think is going to be the most valuable Bear this weekend?
Yeah, I seem to pick him like every other game, but I'll go with DeAndre Swift.
He's been a good bet. I mean, that's not a bad guy to choose this year.
He's really had a good year. Not a Pro Bowler. Again, too many really good backs in this league with Gibbs and McCaffrey and, Bijan Robinson. But DeAndre's, really had a great season. I've said it many times this year. And again, I want to see Caleb throw for 300, certainly 270 to get to 4,000, but you run the football. Keep the defense off the field. I think you still have to get to that. And another thing, too, is when we were talking the first part of the podcast about who you want to play and where, the Bears, running the ball in January is huge. And they've been able to do that. The running game plays. This is a legit running game. The offense has had its up and downs. The offense, running the ball, really hasn't had its ups and downs. It's been up. It's been up really since early in the season, those first 2-3 games of the season. So, but DeAndre Swift, give him the ball. I want to see him have one more 100-yard game. I think he deserves that. I think it put a nice capper on his season. I think you can't go wrong with giving him the ball and Manungai too. Man, that kid, I'm a fan. I can't believe I'm a fan of this many guys in this draft class. With Burden and Loveland and Manungai. Ozzy's growing on me a little bit. Maybe there is something in Shamar Turner that we'll see next season. I don't know, but it's been a fun group. But DeAndre Swift, hate to be so boring with my pick, but I'll go with DeAndre Swift.
I like that one. I think the Bears should just run the ball on Sunday. I think, obviously you don't want to risk injury. I would just try to run the clock at that point. Like, I don't want the Lions offense to be on the field. I would just try to, you're going to pass in the playoffs, but the bread and butter of this team has been running the ball this year, and it's been essential to Ben Johnson's offense. So I think you got to get that back a little bit. Last week, they didn't really run the ball against the 49ers. I think a couple weeks ago, if memory serves, they did okay running the ball against the Packers. Obviously, they had to throw a lot to make that epic comeback. But I think they need to get the running game going here in the playoffs. So I like that pick. I think DeAndre Swift is going to have a big impact. My most valuable Bear is going to be Colston Loveland. I think he's on a tear right now. He's really made a big impact. Part of that might be because I have a feature coming out on him tomorrow, little sneak peek. Make sure you guys check that out tomorrow. But I think Colston Loveland is going to have a big impact this weekend. I think he's going to have a big impact in this playoff run because the more and more him and Caleb have played together, the more of a safety net he's really been for Caleb in critical situations. So I think Colston will play a big role there. CJ also agrees he's got both tight ends. Both will make an impact in some way.
Good. You look at Loveland is now their second leading receiver with I think receptions. I think DJ is now with Rome being out the last month.
Yeah.
But yes, Loveland, we're not seeing the 6, 7, 8 catch games from him, but consistently 4 to 5. And it always seems more because when he's catching the ball, it seems like it's either, if it's not for a touchdown, it's for a long play. It's on third and long, medium, or even on a fourth down, it seems like. So I'm glad they're seeing this too. And again, his ascension is a word I've been using a lot with these rookies. We're seeing that now, consistent. Like I really count. I love seeing him targeted, and I love seeing him catch the ball because I know he's just not going down where he catches it. He's really a player. I think the Bears have got something special in Colston Loveland, and we're starting to see that more and more. We always talk about progress isn't linear. We are seeing that the linear progress with him and his game, and he can block. I just think we have a dude here at tight end. When was the last? Well, Martellus Bennett was a very good tight end for the Bears. But Greg Olson wasn't here long enough. He was good elsewhere once he left Chicago. But it'd be nice to have this consistent big guy. Going back to Coach Ditka, my friend, in Colston Loveland, they got a real one here in that kid.
Yeah, well, we'll talk more about it, in the offseason and that kind of stuff. But for how much the Bears were like, you took who at number 10? Like, what are they thinking? The Bears have a offensive unicorn. I think they've got someone who can block really well in the run game. And then when you need a critical reception and critical downs, you've just got an easy target. Linebackers can't keep up with him. Safeties can't cover him because he's so big. They've got a fantastic target, and I think you saw the reason why the Bears jumped at the opportunity to draft him at number 10. Rick's got Caleb as his most valuable Bear. He's going to break the record this weekend. Well, obviously, if he does, probably will win that. All right, Joe. Prediction, 3:25 Sunday, Bears, Lions, regular season finale before the real dance starts. What is your prediction for Sunday afternoon at Soldier Field?
Well, I think they're going to win. And I don't think it's going to be low scoring because unless Detroit doesn't bring its starters, they're going to score points. I mean, Goff, Gibbs, St. Brown, Penei Sewell. It's just too many. And guys who are having great seasons again. I don't know how they've lost 3 in a row. I really don't, because they're too talented, despite the injuries on defense. But I think the Bears will win. I'll go 31-28.
Yeah, I'm conflicted about it too. I don't. This is going to be a close game. I don't think the Bears. I forget what the spread is, but I think the Bears. I have the Bears winning this game, but it's going to be a dogfight. These teams have too much pride. Even for a Week 18 game, this Lions team is not going to give up. In Week 18, barring St. Brown not playing or something like that. But this team is just still too talented. And I think they want to stick it to the Bears one more time. They want to play spoiler. They want to be like, all right, you want to be the number 2 seed? We're going to be the number 3 seed because we're going to beat you. They're going to play as much as their role as they can. And I think that these players for the Bears want to get revenge for what the Lions did to them in Week 2. And they want to show how different of a team they are from Week 2. They're more than the dramatic comebacks and all that kind of stuff. They want to prove that they're a real playoff contender instead of this team that just is lucky this year. So I've got the Bears winning. I'll go with 31-28. I think they win on a close one. But I do think that the Bears win. But this feels like a game that not that I'm worried, but this feels like a game where it's going to be another shootout.
Yeah, I mean, and like every game, as we see, I mean, they're upsets. I never get all the picks right in our Shaw local pick game we have in the paper that runs in print. It's just too hard. And Detroit, again, I think they'd love to stick it to this team. I mean, it'd be different if they were just playing the Saints or somebody.
Sure,
it's a different vibe. But they would love to come here at Soldier Field, beat this team again, and say, again, we beat you the first time, we kicked your butt. This time we just kicked your butt a little bit. They would love that, I'm sure. So you can bet they'll be ready to play. Dan Campbell will have them ready to play Sunday.
Without a doubt. Shorty's saying that he feels like this game will be a blowout.
I hope you're right.
And Rick chiming in, he's saying that the Bears are going to win 34-28. 2 different answers. Personally, I'm hoping for a blowout just to make my life a little bit easier after all these crazy games. But that's just me. No one really cares about my process or anything like that. But yeah, it will be really interesting. We'll obviously a lot on the line this weekend, playoff implications, but it's fun. Folks, that we won't be recapping the season on Monday. We'll be recapping the regular season, a game on Sunday, and then we'll be looking forward to the playoffs, the Bears opponent, and all that kind of stuff heading into Monday. So it'll be fun to kind of keep this thing going. But that's all that we've got for you folks on this Friday morning. Thank you so much to everyone joining us. Thank you to everyone who joined us on the YouTube stream. All the comments and questions. Appreciate you guys' feedback. If you're joining us on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. You'll get all the latest notifications about when we'll be going live and also whenever we have a new live stream going. So make sure you give us a like and subscribe there. If you're joining us on Facebook, thank you so much. I see a lot of likes and loves up there. Appreciate all the support on Facebook. And if you are joining us on the podcast, thank you so much for listening to us there. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast and make sure that you are going to be, if you want to be part of the conversation, join us. We talk on Friday and Monday mornings, barring travel schedule or anything like that. But we try to be pretty consistent on YouTube. So if you want to be part of the conversation, make sure you join us on YouTube, and you can have your questions or comments addressed in our live stream. But that's everything that we've got for this Friday morning. I hope everyone has a good weekend, a nice little end to this holiday season before we get back to reality on Monday here in the new year. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the game on Sunday afternoon. And we will talk to you folks on Monday morning.